everyone. Welcome to 16 Days, 16 Voices. Today, we are going to be speaking about a very important topic that is often swept under the carpet. Why? Because men are supposed to be strong. Men don't cry. Men don't face sexual violence. What is that? How can a man face sexual abuse? No. Well, today we are going to be shattering that myth that men can be victims too. And joining us is Abugri Anyoroge, who is a who is into knowledge management and also a gory historian and also into corporate communications. And we used to work together. So he's my friend. Hi, Abugri.
Hello, Chris.
How are you?
I'm good.
It's nice to see you here.
Yes, I think you missed the part is Gorone.
Grone, not Grony.
Yeah.
Okay, Grone. Grone historian.
Thank you.
All right. That's your village.
That's the language.
Oh, okay. Grone. From which part?
That's the Upper East.
Upper East.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
But then also southern Burkina Faso as well as Togo.
All right. So, Abugri, I've been following you for a while. And before I even saw some of the things you share on social media, we've had conversations about, gender-based violence. And you have always been on that notion that men also get sexually abused. Men also get sexually abused. And I've often wondered, why does he always speak about men's sexual abuse anytime I speak about, this issue about women? But then again, I realize that you are actually a survivor of that. Can you share your story for us?
So the whole concept or understanding what sexual abuse or rape is mostly, the definition is mostly, or maybe in conversations towards to the female gender, which is understandable because culturally and looking at our history as communities, mostly these conversations are not associated with men. And also as someone who has worked in spaces in organizations as such, the main thing has been that I started asking questions about can this also be applied to men? So that brought the enlightenment to now say, has this ever happened to me?
Right.
Because it's not something that you are mostly aware of. So for instance, we know defilement is a child below 18 or let's let's say a child of not of age. Then rape is much more of a much more mature person. So these conversations happen. So defilement among men, and normally we don't raise that up because it's more of how do you know that you have been sexually abused as a man. A woman can be easily noticed about when it happens, but when a man is sexually abused, how is it noted? And I think also the educational and advocacy has not placed emphasis on that.
Right.
Because I've said this countless times that, and even thought about even publishing an article on how to groom a male rapist. The reason is that
How to groom a male rapist.
how to groom a male rapist. The reason is that there are people who go through abuse and then become abusers.
Oh, yeah, that's true. It has a ripple effect.
A ripple effect. So how to groom a male rapist here? I mean, that was the article I've been working around, is to now highlight the gaps that leads to grooming rapists without you knowing, because that is what the society is doing. Not talking about this means that we are raising young men who are supposed to have understood what it means to respect bodies, but then their bodies are not respected, but they're teaching them to respect other people's bodies. So there's a conflict of why should this person get away with it, but I can't get away with it. So that notion has to be conquered. And conquering that notion means filling the gaps.
Yeah.
Because these things happen at a time where it's still the formative stages of a young man, where he's introduced, or perhaps he's introduced his first sex experience is not of consent, but it's more of a forced sex.
Yeah, like an older auntie, a house help, or someone.
Yes. So these conversations happen because the first sex experience is not consented. So to him, he sees sex as when you want it from the person, get it.
You get it, because it was also done the same way to him.
To him. So that is how to groom another rapist. Because if you ignore that section without tackling it, the person grows up with that mindset and becomes that.
Right.
Without knowing that it is wrong.
Yeah. But we live in a society where the men themselves find it funny when someone speaks about it, or when another man speaks about this experience. They even laugh about it and say, how is it possible that you were sexually abused? Oh, men don't get sexually abused. And you see, that also, what that does is silence men. And it creates the monster that we are talking about. Now, how do we now break that toxicity?
I would say we have agents of socialization, and these are places that inform the behavior and attitude of men as well, and even women. Let me say everyone. And when we look at them, the family is one of the agents of socialization. We also have the schools, the churches. And I would say nations are comprised of communities, tribes, ethnic groups, as well as families. So we need to start from the family. That when we educate the mother, the father, they are well informed, it helps also bridge that gap. That when your male child walks into the house, you're able to also ask, how did it go? Mm-hmm. What happened? In the Ghanaian society, for instance, we have our day. Our day is a day you dance to music, you party with your friends. And those who speak Ga or understand Ga know what it means, oh sure. So uchi current. You understand? So
you tap current.
You are tapping current from a lady.
Yeah.
So the male is tapping current is sure, because a woman can show a man. Basically, that's the understanding. Now, when we are able to fake them through that, to break the toxicity, here is saying that, okay, our day is coming. Now, this is what you have to do. If you want to dance with a female friend, ask her to dance with her. Don't force her to dance with you. Now, if any female friend also wants to dance with you, you need to approve of it. Those are the things that they can easily relate with the children. Consent first. So, because when you're teaching consent for the male child, people struggle. Where do we teach the consent? That is one area of consent. I've done that with my younger siblings, and they've understood it more better. That our day, we'll dance with women, we'll dance with our colleagues, but they need to consent first. And all these things mean that because they are having fun, they are still forming, so they are having fun. That's one thing you have to do. Always make sure that the male child has to consent and introduce the learnings through these things. Another thing here could also be that when you're going to create a support group for men, for instance, at church, we have the men's fellowship, we have the brigade. Now, these associations are a point of socializations. I would say that they largely don't talk about it. Churches don't talk about it. I'm a Christian, so I'll talk about the church. I've also I was also raised in a Muslim community. I've not heard my colleagues talk about this. So the churches are a place that people pay attention to. If the pastor is able to stand on the pulpit and tell the males, the male congregants that you need to act this way. If you feel this way, come to us, because that is where they go for their counseling. Because not everyone can go for therapy. Some can afford a therapy through their pastors. So the pastor need to see that he's an agent of change in that direction. Right. That is when the male child is able to have that confidence to now approach things easily. So we need to focus much more on what are the areas of socialization and how to plant these seeds in there consciously. Plant these seeds in there. If you have a boys' school, it's a boys' school. We need to add these things there where
consent. Yeah.
It makes the boy child speak about it easily. That not to see it as a competition or as a trophy or a taboo, because immediately you talk. If the reason there's mockery or there's people are mocked. I mean, male survivors are mocked is because we see having access to the female as a trophy. Okay. In coming up, you see it as a trophy. Oh, Charlie, I finished this one. I finished that one.
Wow.
Then it's like a tally.
Finishing.
Yes. That is more like a Ghanaian pigeon. So I eat this one, or I chop this one, or I finish this one. It's that's understanding
Yeah.
to them. So now to say that you've been harassed by a female, your boys will be like, they eat you, or like what happened? So there's kind of dissonance in terms of reconciling with what should be the reality. You should rather be the active one, not rather the other person being the active one.
But what kind of reaction did you receive the first time you spoke about it?
It was it was so I laugh about it every time that most of my contacts, when I posted on my status, and most of my contacts like, like, when it happened,
Oh my God.
like, you know, the girl, she did alive. I for call me. I said, call you for what? Like, so honestly, I was also getting confused. I was like, are they reacting to what about, or they have something? So it was, I kept saying, actually, do you understand what you asked me? Or something. They said no. But you see, I also saw it as a way of coping with the trauma, because that's how boys sometimes cope with trauma. They make fun of you, and they make you understand that you can be stronger than this. So it was more of like, there's more confusion, because I don't know whether he's helping me cope, or he's really making fun of me and all. But I think the first time I spoke about it, family and also as well as friends, some mentioned it to me, and I was even surprised, because some DM me and said, "Oh, me, I thought I was the only one." No.
Wow.
So then I noticed that. So I was like, so if all of you they move like that. So like, how you do them? He say, well, I mean, when I house help, now he eat me, sir, but Charlie, how you go do them? But you go talk, sir, your puppy, they tell you, say you be the bad boy.
Wow.
So I asked him, how did you overcome that? That's even one of the story. Many stories I've heard. Now, then I understood that there's a need to not to raise the topic to feel, for people to feel sorry about your condition, but you're raising the awareness for people to be more educated and empowered to know how to influence the next generation. Because Kojo Q said, yes, no, when you ask a black man, how are you? Or say, I'm fine, even though there's suicide on his mind. So I'm fine becomes like a rhetoric, rather than a really expressive statement you are sharing with someone. So the male child needs to understand that when you ask him, are you okay?
You can say no.
He can say no and mention other areas that he's not okay. Because the male child mostly, are you okay, is mostly about economic, it's about work, it's also about education. But things around his body, no. Resources to look into it, no. Personally, the reason I wrote the article, I first wrote the article on male sexual, let's say male survivors, when I was still a student at Ghana Institute of Journalism. Then wrote one again when I was practicing journalism in mainstream media. These two, there were gaps. The first one was much more about my story. Then the second one was much more about also going out to interview men. Most of them brushed it off. I interviewed taxi drivers, asked him how far. He said, "Oh, now he likes older women."
Because of that.
Because of that. So I said, "What do you say?" Charlie, now I mean, you know, share. Now, mommy, no, so I started asking that. So that's why I mentioned to you that it changes the way they think about sex, about how they should have it.
Right.
So an individual like that, if you don't manage him properly, he becomes an abuser. Not to say that I'm endorsing their attitude, but this is the reality that you've not been able to educate him and take him through a process of healing, that he sees it that it's an opportunity for him to protect the next male child from being exploited, than rather being a perpetrator of it, or rather seeing it as being okay. So those are the conversations that need to be had around saying that, okay, what can we then do as a community for the male child? Because families are doing this. What can we do as a community?
I feel like you have just opened like a Pandora box right now, Because yes, the 16 days of activism is the fight against gender-based violence, especially when it comes to girls and women. But with having this conversation, we realize that when the male child is abused and is silenced and he doesn't speak about it, his trauma can affect him so much that he becomes an abuser, and that abuser can abuse girls and women.
Yes.
So it's we are not just in a vacuum. We need to work together
Yes.
as men and women.
Yes. Because if you want women to be protected, you need to empower the male child to also to protect that. You don't only empower women and girls to protect themselves. You need a male child also empowered.
Right.
So even in all our programming, we need to factor in where can we empower the male child.
Right. So I agree with you, but in as much as we always speak about women, especially we women speak about women, don't you think it's time for men to have platforms that also speak about men and empower men and boys?
Yes, there should be a platform like that because, you know, and I would mention this. Abena Nyansa started an initiative, Honorable Men Wanted, because young men growing up don't have people they look up to for them to inform them, guide them, or people they can look up to, for instance, within their community. So when she started that initiative, focused on only male child, it was something that was good. And I think, yes, in communities, and I'll say the agents of socialization can do more with the power they have. The churches, there are male associations, there are brigade. There's a choir. At the choir stand, there are men there.
Yeah.
At the mosques, we also have groups within.
Yeah.
They also get time to go to Makaranta. These are places that they can get the time to also learn and understand these things.
Yeah, talking about that, I read an article about men being taught how to be good husbands in Senegal. It's something that is going on right now. So they are learning and unlearning, old ways and learning new ways to be good husbands. So I think you're right about that. Even in our workplaces, they need to organize things for the men there, because in workplaces usually the way they talk, shall I see your butt talk? Shall I, you look nice? Oh my God.
It's and I always say this.
They sexualize you. They can naked you, like with their eyes.
The eyes.
Tell you everything about yourself.
The reality with that is that for that experience also, that educated men knowing how to commune with the other gender, the gender, next gender, female gender, is also important because, for instance, when a lady is done with her presentation, what's the first comment we would like to talk about?
Her shape.
Her shape, her dress, or was it about the work she presented?
Yeah.
So sometimes the socialization of male child also informs on how these are portrayed, and also if you're also if you're willing to be the change. So, for instance, growing up, I told myself that, well, I'm not going to go around like being a womanizer. I'm not going to hurt women. I'm not going to do this to women. So therefore, if you try that on my woman or my sister or my daughter or my mother,
We got a problem.
you have a big problem. So I've said that for myself. That is my standard.
Yeah.
So you won't find anywhere. And I always say this, that I just sometimes ask, if you really want to know who I am, you put it out there that if any woman I have ever assaulted anything, that person should come out.
Yeah.
And the reality is here is that because I've told myself growing up and also through socialization, because my mom talks more about that, about how to be more empowered. My dad talks about that. The family highlights on that. Is to, that's why I said the family, to speak to you, to learn, to understand. Because the first time I shared this story with my mom about being sexually harassed, then it was on my birthday. So mostly we had a ritual. On your birthday, she will pray for you.
Yeah.
You have an intimate conversation.
Yeah.
So I decided to do it on my birthday. So on the birthday, it sat, then she was like, anything, like, let's start, let's pray. We prayed. Then we continued. Then said, do you have anything to speak about? Want me to? So that is an intimate, that's a close relationship I have with my mom. Then I said, there's one thing. and it happened this time. Because
You
sometimes,
don't want to share.
oh, I'll just
You're
say,
running in circles. You're in round circles, not
you
to
know,
share.
I always say, so what I share with, when I spoke to her about it, that it was a neighbor. You understand? It's a neighbor. And, you know, we go there to play.
You were young.
Very, very young. So you go there to play, and this is the thing that you're locked up in a room.
Wow.
And I think my first article, I did. I know sometimes it's very strange how the memory works, because I quite remember everything in detail how he started. Because I thought we were going to bath, like take a bath. Then I'm like, what's happening? There's something beyond that, because that's what happens. You see more of a family friend. So yes, you bathe together, you play, you eat together. It's something communal. So the abuse doesn't happen from a stranger, or doesn't come from a
It's
stranger.
always someone closer.
Someone closer, and you at that age you don't understand what it is. It's when you grow up, then you start, no, the education, the enlightenment starts. Okay, I've experienced this thing before, but I never know say this be the meaning. So then I opened up, because later I noticed that no, that was the situation. So I spoke to her. We prayed about it. Then she said, we keep being strong anytime you need me. And my mom has been there on that note. So it's something that I always say, that mostly when it happens at the younger age, the male child doesn't know what is happening, or even the female child doesn't even know what is happening until the person grows and then understands what the reality is at that point. So yes, and that's what I'm saying, that it's much more better when families are more informed, because there are young people who are becoming parents now. They should be more informed. They can help protect the male child as well as the female child, because we want a community or society that grows where male and female are protected. The male child needs not to be ignored in that light, and that is what will now channel the energy into designing programs.
Right.
And I think this conversation and even providing this platform is what is part of the whole process, even making sure that these voices are heard,
Right.
and that people listen, understand, and know that you can help your male colleague cope. And sometimes, honestly, they don't know how to help. I can be honest with you. Sometimes they don't know how, because other people I've spoken to, other colleagues who share their experience, they said they've told their parents, but they don't know how to help. Because even the constitution, if you're talking about defilement, talking about rape,
It's more of a woman.
the descriptions are tilted to women. So the male child is like, so how are you going to help
do I
me?
fit in? Yeah, how do you help?
How do I go for medical report to show what?
What's the proof?
It was the proof that I've been abused. And sometimes, and during JHS, I quite remember, I tell my female colleagues in class that if you touch my butt, I'll touch your butt. If you disrespect me by touching me, I'll touch your butt, because I'm not coming to touch your butt. But if you disrespect by touch, I'll touch and even press it harder. You understand? Because it became a thing where they were just touching people's butt. I'm like, what's going on here? But immediately,
And it made you feel uncomfortable.
very, very uncomfortable. And I was like, why are you touching male butt? So if you do that to a male, like you do that to a female, they'll quickly report you, be punished. But that's what I'm saying. That same situation, when a male child goes to report to a teacher that this my colleague touched my butt, like touch. So what we for do?
Yeah, what should we do?
Yeah, what should we do? He touched your butt, like what should we for do? So it makes the male child. That's what I'm saying. The agent of socialization. A school is part. It makes the male child think that even the teachers, they are not supporting us.
Yeah.
Family is not supporting us.
So that means the justice system and the support services should actually include male survivors.
Good. Where it creates the opportunity where the male child can boldly say that this lady touched me, and that lady is punished severely. Immediately that happens, even at the GHS or even the primary, the people even within that year group become they change. They become educated, like, hey, because a lot of people remember their primary school and the JHS time, like, we did JHS, this lady go touch, the way them punish them. So make steady plus men say they touch them.
Yeah.
And all these things matter. So only if we understand that it's an all-inclusive process, where when we get opportunity to educate women about consent, about their body, about everything, we also create opportunity in that same space for the male child to also be educated on that.
Right.
And that really helps.
Right. So during the 16 days of activism, what message do you want to send to the leaders, communities, and everyone that is listening right now about, sexual abuse and the right to healing?
The message would just be one, that just make sure your male child is safe. And in being safe, don't only look at their economic wise and, let's say, educational wise, but create an opportunity for them to, whilst people would say soft, it's not being soft, but being realistic, to be human about what they are not comfortable, because male child, they hardly talk about what they are not comfortable with. They can talk about their success, but their failures and what hurts them, what keeps them in pain. So let's create that opportunity for them. And when we create that opportunity for them to express the pain, that is when the healing, that's when we're able to even create that enabling environment for them to grow. So I would say community leaders should focus much more on coming up with programs that enables the male child to express himself without filter.
Right.
This is how I feel, but in a respectful way, because honestly, you say the Ghanaian way, respectful, but then tells you point blank that this is how I feel, this is what happened, how can you help me?
Right.
Learn them to, so basically teaching them how to ask for help, and that is what will rather make things better.
All right. So it's been great. I really
Thank you.
enjoyed this conversation. Ronye,
Gorone.
Goronem, historian, and also into corporate communications. And once more, he's a male survivor who has helped us shatter the myths that men can be victims too. See you on the next episode.